Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is an entitled people story. Living in a new state, with my husband and our daughter, was not easy. We moved from a small town in the middle of nowhere to a well-established neighborhood with all sorts of rules and regulations. Our daughter is disabled and needs a wheelchair-accessible van to get around. We have been living in our new home for about a year now and have been keeping our van in the driveway, like we always have. The HOA had always been strict with their policies, but we had no idea that it would come to this. One day, we received a letter from the HOA board stating that we were violating the parking policy by keeping our van in the driveway. We were told that we would be fined $100 per day and that our van would be towed if we did not comply. We were shocked and frustrated. How could they do this to us? Our daughter needs the van, and we have nowhere else to keep it. We tried talking to the board members, but they were not interested in hearing our side of the story. They said that we were not the only ones being affected by the new policy and that we had to follow the rules like everyone else. We didn't know what to do. Our daughter needed the van, and we couldn't afford to pay the fine every day. We decided to seek legal advice and found a disability lawyer who was familiar with such cases. The lawyer assured us that the HOA was violating the Fair Housing Act by discriminating against our daughter's disability, and we had a good chance of winning the case. We also decided to take matters into our own hands and try to get more support from our neighbors. We went around the neighborhood, explaining our situation and asking them to sign a petition to challenge the new policy. We were surprised by how many people were willing to help. But things took a turn for the worse when our van was towed one morning. We were devastated. Our daughter was upset, and we had no idea what to do. We immediately called our lawyer, and he advised us to file a complaint with the local authorities. We also decided to attend the next HOA board meeting, where we would voice our concerns and demand an explanation for their actions. The board meeting was a disaster. The board members were uninterested in our concerns and refused to listen to us. They ignored us and proceeded with the meeting as if we were not even there. Our daughter was getting restless and started to speak up. She called out one of the board members, who had been particularly dismissive, and told her that she should have some respect for her mother and the other residents in the meeting. The board member laughed and dismissed our daughter's concerns, and we knew then that we had to take matters into our own hands. We decided to gather more signatures and challenge the board members at the next election. We spent the next few weeks talking to our neighbors and gathering support. We also contacted the media, and our story was picked up by several local news outlets. The HOA was getting a lot of negative attention, and they knew that they had to do something. Finally, the day of the election arrived, and we were determined to make a change. We had gathered enough signatures to challenge the board members, and we knew that we had a good chance of winning. The room was packed, and there was a lot of tension in the air. We stood up and made our case, and the crowd was on our side. The board members tried to defend their actions, but it was clear that they had lost the support of the community. Finally, since the successful vote at the HOA meeting, the atmosphere in the neighborhood has completely changed. People are friendlier and more welcoming, and there are no longer any unnecessary rules or regulations. The new board members have been doing a great job of keeping everything fair and ensuring that every resident feels valued and respected. As for my family, we can finally park our van in our driveway without any fear of being fined or towed. It has made our lives so much easier, and my daughter is much happier now that she can access her van with ease. We've even made some new friends in the neighborhood who have been incredibly supportive and understanding of our situation. One day, while out for a walk with my daughter and our dog, we were approached by a woman who introduced herself as a real estate agent. She mentioned that she had heard about our struggle with the HOA and how we had fought back to reclaim our rights. She also informed us that a family with a disabled child was interested in buying a home in our neighborhood, but they were hesitant due to the previous discrimination. The real estate agent went on to explain that the family had heard about our fight and how we had changed the HOA for the better. They were so inspired that they wanted to meet us and learn more about the community. Of course, my daughter and I were more than happy to meet with them and share our story. The next story is titled "You Will Not Recheck Our Scores? Fine, have fun with unemployment." Context: I have been working in this health insurance company for the past 3 years. I recently took another position with better hours and better pay, but this time it was to coordinate appointments with doctors and specialists. My metrics were always great, and the reason I was selected for the new position was due to my metrics. This has been brewing since October 2022. We used to have a coworker, let's call her Karen. Karen is this old lady that thinks she knows it all, everything she says it's right, and she often blames everything on someone else. Typical Karen activities. The first time I interacted with her was back in October when I messaged her via our work chat because she messed up prior authorization for a patient and the MD office was calling to have the person that created the authorization fix the issue. The conversation went like this. Me. Hi, good morning, I have an MD office calling requesting to speak to you in regards of prior authorization that looks incomplete. Karen. And you couldn't help them? This is a call center, you're supposed to help. And I don't even know who that MD is. Me. You're correct, this a call center, however you created the authorization, and as you know I cannot fix authorizations that were not created by me. And also they will like to speak with you specifically. I also provided her the patient record number and the MD office phone number. Karen. Well, I am not available to talk to them. Me. Okay. I went back to the call. I specifically told the MD what she said, including that she's not available to talk. But hopefully she will call them back to fix the issue. I also sent a message to my direct supervisor with a screenshot of our conversation, and I simply said, "This is unprofessional, especially in an environment like ours." Fast forward the start of the year and Karen took a position with our quality assurance department due to them being understaffed. I used to work in the QA department and I knew the ins and out and knew she would be assigned to our department since she already had experience. Context. Our quality assurance gives scores us from 100, and if we miss something we get points deducted. Example: miss HIPAA -20, give inaccurate info -10, don't advise people for our survey -5, etc. In January comes my first bad score in 3 years in the company. It was a 56%. I was astonished because it's the first time I've had a bad score. But I also make sure this score was correct. Our company gives us the choice to listen to our calls just to be sure our just in case the quality agent made a mistake. I listened to my call and I did everything right. I completed the information, provided good service, and I asked if the point need assistance with anything else and provided closing script. On the quality note it was stated that I didn't offered any help and that I didn't even completed HIPAA. I sent it to my supervisor and he stated that when I offered the closing script the patient asked something and I reply and disconnected the call. Okay? I still said the closing script and his question, and my answer lasted literally 5 seconds. My supervisor still went to her and managed to fix the score to 95% because she felt like I didn't provided a survey. If someone has worked in a call center, you know that metrics are everything, and one bad thing will quickly not get your monthly bonuses, and on top of that we get our asses handed to us by management because if we don't achieve the metrics they also don't get bonuses. I took screenshots of our conversation and save it in a file, then I sent it to my personal email since I know our IT department is known for deleting anything that is not a working system or appropriate. Fast forward 3 days ago, or April 18th. I had received several scores ranging from 85% to 80% and only one 100% score. The 100 score I received it because Karen wasn't the one who audited my call and the other person find everything alright. But the 85% looked fishy since the first thing you see if the patient name. I quickly remembered the call because the person was funny and I enjoyed the call. I listened to the call and of course I did everything perfectly. However, Karen put on the system that she deducted 10 points for not telling the patient that he had a copay for the visit and another 5 points for extending the call. What? I contacted my supervisor and let him know of what happened, however I didn't receive a response. I was confused, so I sent a message to a coworker who told that they have been having the same issue with Karen with inaccurate audits and the department not achieving their monthly goals due to it. Since my supervisor didn't reply, I did what everyone does when management does not reply. I messages Karen. And I sent her a message that just said, "Hey, I have seen some inaccurate audits and I would like to know if you could recheck them since I listened to the calls and everything was done properly." The reply I received was, "All audit scores are final and it cannot be appealed." I knew it was a lie since I worked with quality before and I know it could be changed. I replied, "You know I work in that department for 1 year and I know it could be rechecked and reversed right." Karen said, "Your previous position is irrelevant in this matter. If you don't like the score you can go ahead and submit a complaint to my supervisor." I replied, "Okay, have a good day." knowing that her supervisor knows me really well. Cue malicious compliance. I just didn't create one formal complaint, I created one complaint for each time she scored me incorrectly. Not only that, but I also told my 19 coworkers what she said and advised them that if they would like their scores overturned and rechecked they could send a complaint to her supervisor, but only to send one complaint per bad score. Also to let you guys know, we don't get one audit a month, no, we get audited 10 times per month. In the span of 24 hours her supervisor must had received around 200 complaints from our department complaining for one person, Karen. The first complaint was mine with Karen conversation saying that all decision are final and she cannot recheck or overturned, and also saying to submit a complaint to her supervisor. Her supervisor sent me a message saying that they will evaluate all the complaints and scores and we will be receiving a message. That was on Monday, April 17, 2023. Tuesday we didn't get any messages. Wednesday I couldn't go to work due to my illness. But today on 04/20 I received a message from her supervisor stating that my scores have been reviewed and properly scored. And also stating that my supervisor will be under investigation because any complaint should be submitted to his manager and he never submitted anything. And that the employee has been terminated. But the best part is logging into our chat and seeing Karen's profile with no pictures, and instead of her name it only said unknown user. The morale of our group is better and I hope we don't have issues again. The next story is titled ENTILED. Mom think I owe her £10,000 compensation because her son grew up to be a thug, just like I said he would. Years ago, my cousin, Lucy, and I had a strained relationship because she let her son, Damien, do anything he wanted, never punished him, and brushed away anything he ever did as, boys will be boys, or, he's just a kid, etc. It came to a breaking point between us when Lucy and Damien were visiting years ago. Damien was 12 at the time, and my daughter, Maggie, was 9. Maggie was sitting happily playing her Xbox in her bedroom upstairs. While Lucy and I were talking, Damien got bored and wandered off. A few minutes later and I hear screaming and crying. I rush up to Maggie's room to find her on the floor, blood all over her face, while Damien is just casually playing the Xbox. It turns out he came up and demanded a turn on the Xbox. Maggie said sure, just let me finish the level. So he snatched the controller from her hand and smashed her around the face with it, then shoved her out of the way. I rushed her to the hospital. Luckily it looked worse than it was, and there was no lasting damage, and I live in the UK so no medical bills. But I was furious. I told Lucy what Damien did and she shrugged and said, you know how boys are with their video games, she should have just let him play. I told her in no uncertain terms that she and her son were not allowed anywhere near me or my family. We got into a huge fight over this, where she of course tried to absolve her little angel of anything. So I lost it and told her if she didn't discipline him and teach him boundaries, she would end up raising a monster who would grow up to be a thug or worse, which infuriated her. This caused fallout with the family for years, largely because Lucy lied and told everyone her son and Maggie had just been play fighting and that's how she got hurt. It was just an accident and I was overreacting. After a few years, everyone forgot. I still forbade Lucy or her hell spawn from coming anywhere near me. Several other family members did the same. I can't imagine why. Fast forward to a little before the pandemic. Damien was 19. Just like I predicted, he soon learned that thanks to his mother, he was bulletproof as she would never believe he did anything wrong. So his behavior got worse and worse, to the point where he was kicked out of every school in the area and had to go to special school. I got a call from Frank, Lucy's brother, telling me Lucy had been rushed to hospital, that he knows we don't talk, but Lucy was seriously hurt and he wanted to let me know. Despite our history, I went to visit Lucy, accompanied by Frank and his wife. Before this we had been really close and I was upset to hear she was hurt. When I got there, I was shocked by what I saw. She was really banged up, her face swollen, bruises all up her arms. It turned out Damien had done this. She was really struggling for money, and he refused to get a job, so she finally tried to lay down the law and tell him to get a job or she was throwing him out, so he attacked her. Almost dislocated her jaw. It was horrific. Now, we had a history, but at this point none of that mattered. I was worried and sad for her. I immediately asked her if she needed help with anything. She seemed surprised, but we ended up all having a really heartwarming chat, with her saying how much it meant to her that I came to see her. I thought maybe we were turning a corner and could repair our relationship. We had been really close as kids. Oh, how wrong I was. A few weeks later, I started getting blasted on social media and getting nasty messages and texts telling me what an awful person I was and how could I do what I did to Lucy. I was confused. I hadn't done anything. I called Frank. He had no idea either but said he would look into it. Turns out Lucy had told everyone I had come to the hospital and mocked her, gloating, "I told you so," while she bawled her eyes out. I confronted Lucy about it, asking her how she could lie like that. She hit back that this was all my fault, it's what I deserved. If I knew this was going to happen, why didn't I do more to help her? She then demanded I pay her at least £10,000 for damages I caused. Like WTF? She lied to everyone because she couldn't stand that I had been right and decided to punish me for it. For months I endured hateful messages from family members who believed her lies. Not all my family believed her, of course, and Frank and his wife cleared things up about what really happened. He managed to record Lucy admitting that she lied, which got most off my back, but there were still a few relatives who had it in their heads that, there's no smoke without fire, and I must have done something to make her say what she did. But they're all distant relatives on her side, so who cares? Then the pandemic rolled around. Everyone forgot the petty squabbles Lucy and her lies caused. But, last month, we held a family gathering at my parents', the first in years due to the pandemic. Lucy showed up. Thankfully Damien was absent on account of serving a prison sentence for aggravated assault and battery, unrelated to what he did to his mother. I went to ask Lucy how she was doing. The first words out of her mouth were, "You need to pay me what you owe me. If you don't, I'm taking you to court. I need that money, it's the least you can do for ruining my life." She followed me around the party demanding I pay her, telling everyone who would listen that I had ruined her life. My, what a happy family reunion. The next story is titled "My Mom Thinks She's Getting My Non-Existent Baby." So, to preface, I just bought a new house and had recently set up a Amazon list for things I'd like. One of the items was a baby bottle dryer that I was planning on using for reusable bags. I do not have a baby, I am not pregnant and not planning on having a baby anytime soon. I hate kids. It was just cheaper than other dryers I was seeing. This led to confusion from distant family. They worried my fiancé and I were pregnant. They know we don't want kids. It was cleared up quickly. Yesterday, we met to eat with some family that came to visit from out of state. The topic of the baby rack came up and we all laughed at the confusion. Somewhere in there, my mother announced that if my fiancé Annie got pregnant, she'd get a new baby. As in the baby would be hers. We never talked to her about this, agreed that this was a thing, or even confirmed this. This and not the first time she's mentioned this. She has also stated I would, unalive, myself if I found out I was pregnant, which isn't true. About a year ago, she did try for a baby but was unsuccessful. She was actually fixed shortly after due to a medical issue. I know she still wants a baby, but I don't know where she got the idea that I'd give her mine. She was a terrible mother to me, and if I go through a pregnancy, I am keeping it. As much as I dislike kids, I'd rather raise mine as compared to let it go through what I did. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.